Welcome back to the cheap V10 BMW supercar build. That's right, I know I gave up on this project, but I decided to jump right back into it. And if you're watching this video, that means we've accomplished something significant. About 6 months ago, I bought one of my dream cars, a high-revving V10 supercar that BMW made back in 2007, the M6. But I bought the worst condition one available for sale and the cheapest one in the world at the time. I bought it from Copart, and on the listing it said that it had been in an accident with no mechanical damage and that it runs and drives forward and reverse. Now, the Copart buying experience was a complete disaster, but I won't bore you with those details. It arrived on a U-Haul trailer completely dead, brakes locked up, so we replaced the battery and it was completely out of gas. So we put some gas in it, started it up, and it sounded terrible.
No way. Oh, the noise is terrible.
Also, it wouldn't drive forward or reverse. And drive it wasn't moving. Just another junker added to the collection of broken POSs I owned at the time. So we scanned it and it showed a ton of misfires. So we swapped out the plugs and coils and the misfires went away. And then I replaced all the SMG fuses, but the transmission still didn't work. Then we took it to our shop, got it up on a lift, and changed the oil. The old oil didn't look too terrible, but with its mileage of 109,000 miles, it's long overdue for rod bearings. But I wanted to figure out the transmission first, so I had multiple BMW experts come check out this car, and that was very hard because most BMW mechanics refuse to even touch or get near an E60 or E63, M5 or M6. The ones that did come out used their special scanners to figure out what's wrong with the transmission, and they all said the same thing. There's no transmission codes and that I need to get rid of this car ASAP. They valued fixing this car as low as $25,000, as high as $60,000. So I pulled the bitch ass move and I put the car up for sale. And I even had a few people look at it and they were like, hell nah, this is too much for me. But then my friend Sam convinced me to try again, and he believes it's just a clutch issue. Now my faith is restored in this project and I said, let's do it. Basically, me and Lenny have pulled the transmission out of the car to do a deeper inspection because we know there's something clutch related that's wrong. Obviously, there's a million things wrong with the car right now, but the main thing preventing us from driving it is somewhere to do with the clutch. Now, this is the SMG3 transmission, very similar to what they put in the Aventador and a lot of other hot exotic cars. It is basically an F1 transmission. What it is a manual transmission with a million complicated wires and seals and fluids that electronically, automatically control it. But by doing this, it's able to, I guess, make the car faster. It also makes it much more complicated. We basically pulled the fork off, all the other components, and they look fucked up. So that's not good, but it is good because it's kind of telling a little bit of a story. It's explaining why the clutch isn't engaging. But overall, just doing some tests with the car, we know that pretty much the SMG pump works. We know that a lot of the seals are good, even though we are going to be replacing those anyways. Overall, we're in a pretty good position right now. Guys, I know I was trying to get rid of this car. I know I gave up. You can't start a project and give up. If you start a project, you gotta finish it. And I know financially it doesn't make sense to finish this project. There's a lot of reasons why I shouldn't, but at the same time, since when have I ever made good decisions anyways? So I think it's much more fun if we fix it and we get to hear that V10 roar finally. I know you guys love it. I love it. It's one of my favorite European cars of all time. And these are an amazing value. I mean, for 5,900 bucks, I had basically a car that V10 supercar. Doesn't get better than that. It's time to remove the clutch and find out what's wrong with it. The clutch was beat. While pulling the bell housing off the engine, tons of clutch material fell out, which is a great sign. I've never been so happy to see a torn apart clutch. There we go. The flywheel is removed, and I had to use this special e-torque right here to basically get those bolts out. We got a brand new clutch we're gonna put in. Performance clutch that can hold a lot of power. So the good news is that I believe that the clutch is pretty much one of the main things holding us back on this vehicle. So once we put the new clutch in, we should have a good running and driving M6. Obviously, you know, I gotta get on tires because these tires are shot. And then instantly after that, we gotta deal with the rod bearings. But we should have a running, driving M6, which is amazing. So I feel like an F1 mechanic right now working on this SMG. Here's the deal. We have a brand new little clutch fork pivot pin. We got a brand new clutch fork because the old ones were just worn to shit. So we're just replacing those parts. Now we got the slave cylinder. You'd think, oh, maybe you should buy a new one. Well, they're $600. And this one, I believe, works perfectly fine. So instead of replacing a $600 part, what we're gonna do is flip the bolts that are in it around so that if worst case scenario it breaks, I can replace it without having to actually drop the whole transmission. Doing that requires, removing these highly complicated lines that I'm sure are all vacuum sealed and require all kinds of bleeding procedures and things that I really don't know anything about, but it's the only way. And we'll figure it out one way or another. Now I could pull it out and then there we go. So this component right here is like $600. On a normal manual transmission, you could pick these up for like 20, 30 bucks all day long. But that's what it goes for. I think it's like 60 bucks for the manual transmission version of this car, which I really wish I had. These bolts right here, we gotta get them out and flip them around. That way I can remove this without dropping the transmission later on. Well, we did it. Slave cylinders in, bolts are flipped around. So now that's just one little thing to hopefully maybe save us if that goes all wrong. So back to the pilot bearing. Okay, so I've got a new pilot bearing that I gotta fit right in here. And basically how you wanna do it is you wanna use a harmonic balancer pulley kit so you can get an even, precise push on it. Unfortunately, we're dealing with a special supercar V10 right now, and these bolts won't work. So I'm gonna use a socket and a mallet and just fucking bang this shit in. There you go, it's that easy. Okay, so our buddies over at Spec Clutch hooked us up with not only the flywheel, the twin disc clutch, pressure plate, release bearing, all the bolts that we need, pretty much a full kit that can handle a ton of abuse. I mean, this is much stronger than stock. This is what people do on their race cars when you want to throw a supercharger on. So this can handle a whole lot of torque. So it's a major upgrade for this car and hopefully could get the M6 running once again, which I will not quit until we do. So here we go. Flywheel's got to go on. Okay, I'm just wiping off all the grease off of the flywheel. We just torqued down all the bolts, so it's on there. Now is the fun part. Now I get to start putting the components back together. Okay, we got clutch, then this little metal plate, and then another clutch because this is a twin disc clutch. We got our alignment tool. Got the alignment tool. Just place this in right here. This disc goes like that. This goes like this. We got everything in basically. All I need is just the pressure plate. Oh damn, that thing is heavier than I thought. Now we just place the final component on.
Holy smokes.
Okay, now that the clutch is in, let's start assembling the transmission and pop it back in. Okay, now for the most important part, we got brand new components like this fork, brand new pivot pin, spring, lubed everything up. You got that release bearing. So anywhere where two spots touch is pretty much lubed up. Now I just gotta fit this fucking piece in here. That's not good. There we go. This is the release bearing, a very important piece. I'm gonna slide that piece in right there. There we go. Components are all in. Now we gotta take this big piece of junk and put it back into the car. God, I hope this works. So now's the fun part where we're putting the bell housing bolts back in. Getting this transmission in was a major bitch, and there's so many very expensive and sensitive wires and lines that run all along this, so getting it up is hard. Also, it weighs like a fucking ton. Maneuvering around's hard, but it's in. And now we're just putting the bell housing bolts in. And you know, that's always fun. You gotta build tools with all kinds of extensions. Luckily, our friends from Gear Wrench gave us a ton of extensions, so we're able to get the job done. Just wait till you see Lenny's contraption.
Okay, so now we gotta do all of the bell housing bolts on the very top of the transmission. Now, it's not something that you can just reach your hand up and do. So I literally have a step stool to reach the top of the transmission and a very long extension tool device that I've made. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, how does this, you know, get held on to here to get all the way into the top of the transmission? This is not magnetic. Well, a little bit of tape and some ingenuity kind of keep it somewhat sticking together. I already did one of them. So like that, I should be able to thread this in, tighten it, pull it out, and we should be good to go. Okay, here we go. Okay, we're in. Okay, there we go. 2 more and we're done.
Guys, I think we just found an M6 factory flaw. So we just got done putting the transmission back, all the wiring, the exhaust, we're almost ready to go. And right here on these clamps that clamp the exhaust system to the factory header, yeah, these have factory headers on them, it came off. And we're like, what? You need that piece. Basically, they use a clamping force to pull the exhaust together. And if you look on this side, there's a big weld all around it. On this side, there was nothing at all. So I'm gonna weld this bracket in place. That's crazy. I mean, that's insane, guys. This is the M6. This was the best BMW you could have gotten in 2007. So that's insane. Now that everything's back in, our friend Sam is helping us reprogram the clutch. This transmission needs a relearning and bleeding procedure after a new clutch is installed in order for it to work. And let's hope I didn't fuck anything up. So the wheels spin, which is good, but we hear a bad noise like something doesn't want to spin. Which could mean we need to drop the transmission again to inspect what's going on. But luckily the procedure says it worked, so now let's put the car on the ground and test it. Holy cow. We might have successfully fixed the car. Guys, finally, the M6 is driving once again. And you can see our good friend Sam helped us out big time. The thing's moving. The M6 is moving. I mean, this is something that I gave up because I was being a pussy ass bitch and I said, fuck it, I can't figure it out. Anything could be fixed.
Guys, the M6 is actually running. After all this time, after so much unknown, after all the things that we did to it, trying to fix it, Sam helped us reprogram the new clutch, and well, we got a working M6 now. Now, there's still a load of problems that we have to address.
Okay, here we go. First drive of the M6. And holy shit.
Damn, dude.
Insane, guys. We are like almost out of gas. I didn't want to post another episode until we got it running. And here we are now.
How many months later?
Way too much. I don't want to talk about it.
Hey, but it's running and that's all that matters.
Guys, I'm just so shocked.
Now comes the real fun, rod bearings.
This is insane, guys. This is a car that I've wanted for so many years now, but I've never bought because one, it was kind of too expensive, and two, it's expensive to maintain. But now we're in a position where it makes sense to do this. You know, we took a massive risk on this car, and you know, it was scary, but here we are. I mean, there's still so much that needs to be done, but just I'm so happy with how far we've gotten. I want to stress that me and Lenny are two knuckleheads that really don't know what we're doing most of the time. So, not to count our eggs before they hatch, but if we could figure this out, I'm telling you guys, go buy that project car. Get out there, take the risks, make those stupid financial decisions, do what you need to do. Because if we could do it, anybody can. Now, I'm not sure if you guys remember, but this car is completely out of gas. So that's what I'm doing right now, filling it back up. You gotta understand, when you buy a car from Copart, they give you just a few droplets of gas. I am still in disbelief right now. I'm still in shock that I now have a cheap V10 supercar, and you want to say, it's not a supercar. Well, guess what? If you bought this car back in 2007, or you bought a Lamborghini Gallardo, this car 9 times out of 10 is gonna walk the Lamborghini Gallardo. It's got a high revving V10, it's got F1 transmission, that coupe styling. Why isn't this a supercar? It's no different than a front mounted Ferrari. It really is the best bang for the buck supercar that you could buy right now. And while it is running again, it is far from being complete. We still have so much left to do to this. Now, I'm not gonna butcher the way the car looks. I'm not gonna put a body kit on it. So for everyone worried about that, you don't have to worry. But there's things that we need to do. A lot of things need to be restored. We need to get brand new tires because these tires are bald as fuck and completely rotted. You guys know the roof is completely fucked. This is a carbon fiber roof. It's just destroyed. So that's gonna take a lot of work, time, and effort. The interior is ripped to shreds. We gotta deal with that somehow. There's a lot of things we gotta do. We gotta do it on a budget. We have a lot of work to do, which means a lot of videos coming out soon. And on top of everything, this car isn't road legal. I don't even have a title for it. So I gotta get a title made, gotta get it to pass all the California safety bullshit laws, and that's gonna take some time and effort to do, but it could be done, and this thing will be blasting down the highway. Now, the one thing I know that's on top of everyone's mind is, how does it sound? It's got a V10 motor that revs super high. What does it sound like straight piped? And that will come soon, but right now the #1 priority on this car is getting the rod bearings done, because if we don't do that, the engine will blow up, and that'll be very problematic.